What is up, everyone? Close that. How are you guys doing today? Hopefully, you guys are all having such a beautiful day. Today, we're actually talking about my origin story, and this is actually one of the most important things I tell small businesses and especially our clients to talk about because there's a reason that you are doing the things you're doing today, whether it's the industry that you're in, the business, the solution, the product, whatever that is, you are probably doing that for a specific reason. So that's why I want to highlight today. I only have 15 minutes to talk to you today, but that's okay. This is where the magic happens, and we're gonna have some fun today. So many of you know that might know me primarily as the marketing guy here on LinkedIn, small business marketer. That's kind of what I want to be known for. But many of you might not know where I came from. So I actually graduated from Arizona State here in the U.S. with a degree in nutrition dietetics. And it's always fun sharing that because many people don't think don't check the my main credentials half the time, which is always fun when they find out. What's up, patients? I'm sorry, I told you I would be on at 7:30 MST. I was 15 minutes late, but that's part of the magic here. I honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. I had such a great session at the gym. I just could not stop. And when you're in that mood, then you just keep going with it, right? So today's a very condensed version of my origin story because I think it's always great to add context and how your origin story kind of feeds into where you are today. Because I wouldn't be doing small business marketing if I did not go through the whole learning marketing on my own and seeing how much stuff there's actually in there and learning that there's actually simple ways to go about marketing. If I had not gone through those struggles, those trials and tribulations, I would not. I would not be here. I would not be offering services to help simplify marketing for small businesses. So, like I said, I got my undergrad in nutrition dietetics, which is always fun to talk about because I was so dead set on being a doctor for the longest time. But every single sign in the universe was pointing to the fact that I should not be a doctor. My grades looked more like the alphabet than anything else because let me tell you, I could not focus. So in college, I started three different clubs, and that should have been a precursor to say, hey, my interests are probably gravitating towards something else than medicine because I would honestly spend all this time on the clubs I started rather than actually go forward and study the classes I needed to. So anyway, about halfway through my career as a student there at Arizona State, I realized like I can't do medicine. Like I just can't. I would probably kill someone. Like no one's ever killed anyone from nutrition advice. I'm pretty sure, but I would be the first. So through a series of events, that's why I talk about connecting with people meaningfully here on LinkedIn, because I started direct messaging people on LinkedIn and Instagram, CEOs of tech companies and biotech companies and all that fun stuff that would give me just a chance to work for them. So I talk a lot about, if you don't know how to go do something, figure out the 20% that people do to achieve 80% what you want to do. And eventually I made my way through this rabbit hole and understood marketing was a interesting field to me. Like my mom always said I was a storyteller at heart, and I didn't actually not know you can make a career out of it. So in I think this was 2017. In November 2017, started working for a biotech company and then an AI nutrition company, doing their marketing and doing a lot of work for them. And I started learning these lessons like market research and CTAs and KPIs and social media. And eventually, I got into this nice little rabbit hole where I was like, wow, there is something here, and there's something that's clicking for me. Then with I think I had a year before graduation. This was beginning of 2018 because I graduated at the end of 2018. I had a chance where I did not want to go work in the healthcare field, but I had a year to figure it out. So in that time, I let me see. In that time, basically instead of so I'll be honest. I tried to change my focus. I tried to go in and actually changed my undergrad from nutrition to business with emphasis on marketing. I would have to be in college for 4 more years, and I just couldn't get myself to do that. So what I did was the same thing I did with getting started into marketing. I simply started direct messaging people, and I started learning these fundamentals of marketing because as a person interested in marketing, I always jump towards what's the 101s or what's the 201s of marketing. How do I market on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn? How do I actually make money for clients? Um, how do I actually become a marketer? And the whole time I kept going for these the things I call the 20%, right? Um, and I just couldn't understand why it wasn't working. So I did really, really well. I started a little company to test this out, and then I plateaued, right? I plateaued for the longest time. I couldn't figure out why. And it turns out that I was not prioritizing the fundamentals. So much like any career, much like building a house, I always compare this to building a house. If you're building a house, you have to have a strong foundation before you put up the frame and before you pick out the tiles that you want, right? You have to get that foundation right and then build the building and then furnish the building, right? I was trying to build the building and furnish it before I even had a strong foundation. So that's when I went and actually wrote my book. So I consider my book, We're All Marketers, as my MBA in marketing, because what I did was I picked 20 people that I respected, people like Mark Metry, who's really well known here, Quentin Allums, Gary Vaynerchuk's company, VaynerMedia. I actually interviewed the past CEO, Chief Creative Officer. And, what I started learning was regardless of what, avenue of marketing, whether it's advertisement, whether it's PPC, whether it's content marketing, whether it's email marketing, everything goes back to the fundamentals. And what I learned is fundamentals maybe makes up 20% of the overall marketing, but it counts for 80% of the success, right? So what I started learning throughout the whole book process and writing the book and interviewing people and doing research was that there are, in my opinion, about 20 principles of marketing that if you get those right, if you really focus on those and get those right, then you can graduate to the 201s, which is what equipment should I have? Like have the lights and mics, right? What equipment do I have? How do I market better on Instagram? But if you get those foundations right, everything becomes a lot more clear. And eventually I would take these 20% rules and start marketing for a past company I had called PackPack. And I would actually keep going with this. I would build onto those 101s to 201s to 301s and eventually land a job as a marketer. And that's kind of where the story of us are today, right? So I used the book to land my first job. Shout out to Eric Custer from Georgetown, who actually helped me with this. He has a fantastic program that helps students like myself do it. And that's where we started with Boundless, right? So after the book launched, a lot of people were happy with the resources, but wanted more contextual knowledge to them. And that's where Boundless Media, the little logo right here came from. So, and Boundless Media will be launching a lot more. So you guys will see me promote that a lot more next week and the following week after that. But really, that's my origin story. So I always like talking about it. So I always like talking about it in the context that if I had not come from healthcare, if I had not been a healthcare student, I would have probably never figured out the foundations of marketing. Was so difficult. So if you get a degree in marketing, in my opinion, and what I've seen my friends do it, you learn the fundamentals of marketing before you learn all the other stuff. That's awesome. But many of us, and that's why I cater to small businesses, probably don't have marketing degrees or have marketing degrees and haven't refreshed them in a while. So it doesn't make sense to go back to school and learn these if you're, you can't just, the small business owners, I love them. And I'm a small business owner myself. And you just can't take off the whole, take off 2 years of your business to go learn this stuff. So that's why the company I started directly focuses on teaching that. And that's really why I focus on teaching the foundations within all my content. That's why I talk about, how to edit videos, how to, make a marketing plan, what marketing objectives are. Because I've gone through it. I was a medical student who had no idea how to do this. I had to figure it out. And I was lucky where I could have, I spent 2 years interviewing some of the best people in the world about this, doing my own work, spending at least 7 hours a day marketing for the last 2 years. So I gained all these skills, and that's why I cater to small businesses, is because I can now save businesses time doing that, right? So that's really why I talk about the origin story. And this, I apologize if this came off as a full promotion to Nico and his company. But the reason I did this and use myself as an example is because the best way to learn is kind of seeing it. So I started with it being a healthcare student. I kind of showed you the origin story, how I ended up in marketing, how I ended up finding my business, and how I used the problems and the situations I had to start this company. The nice thing is you have an origin story. Right now, like today, you have a story that really is why you started the business that you started, or work for the nonprofit, or do the things that you do. And my biggest thing is, can you tell that story? So potentially someone might see this and be like, wow, like, I too never got my marketing degree. How, and someone could reach out and say, hey, Nico, how can you help my laundromat? Or how can you help my cleaning service? Or how can you help my XYZ? By seeing this, and I think it's a competitive advantage. If you put me and other marketers together, what separates us? Yeah, I have a book, but anyone can really write a book. Maybe they won't have access to the people I have access to, but the thing that separates me is my background, is my origin story, is the fact that I wasn't a marketer and I had to figure it out for myself so that my business could grow. And now I get to translate over that to someone else. Maybe that story, there's a connection, and there's someone out there that hears that and says, this might be the perfect person for me. Or, I can pick out all these other marketers, but I identify with this person. And the nice thing is, potentially that pushes someone away, because not everyone's your client. So the nice thing is, someone might see them and be like, oh, he didn't get a marketing degree. Potentially, like, I don't want him. I watch his content. He doesn't really know what he's talking about. And it makes it easier, because then we don't have to go through that song and dance of, think about it. And I spend a lot of time on my end trying to convert someone who's never going to become a real customer, right? So for me, like, it's ROI positive both ways. It both brings more people to me, and it also can move people who might not be my perfect customer to go on the other side and be like, yeah, we'll never hire him as a marketer. I can unfollow him, all that fun stuff. So that's my biggest piece of advice to you, is you have an origin story. Now, use mine as an example if you want, because I've refined after a while, but use case study examples in your own story to be a part and a critical part of your marketing, because really that's where the most success can happen, in my opinion, is by putting that out there and really showcasing that, yes, you're real, you're a business, but there's real people running the business. Because the biggest problem I have in the negative connotation of businesses are that they're soulless corporations. But especially people I work with in small business worlds, these are real people, and they have real stories, and they have real passions. They have real interest for getting into the industries that they ended up getting into. So for me, that's really easy to showcase and say that there are real people behind it, right? So that's kind of all I have for you. Like I said, I apologize for cutting it short. I actually have a meeting in about 2 minutes, so I want to get ready for that. But that's my biggest thing, is use my story as an example, to use your origin story as a piece of content, and also a pillar of your overall brand message. You guys have any questions? Make sure to click on my little profile, send me a question, because I want to help, right? That's why I do the things I do. That's why I see Kevin was here. I don't know if he's still here, but that's why Kevin does what he does as a marketer. Apartha, thank you so much for being part of this. Patience, thank you so much for being part of this. Leonard, you are amazing. And then Ma, thank you guys so much for being here, and just have a fantastic rest of your Thursday. I'm actually going to cut it here for that prep meeting, but hope you guys all have such a beautiful day, and we will talk a little later. If you watch my content, I'll be posting throughout the day, but if not, we will live stream tomorrow. Awesome. Bye, guys.